I'm Matt Shepard. Trent Bally is with us, and the Meyer hotline is always open for you, 866-838-4843. You could text the program, Sports Radio 21,000. Busy day on tap for us here today as we talk a lot about Michigan State's reported new head football coach. It's reported. It has not been made official, but Pat Fitzgerald seems to be the guy. Now, this is a guy, remember, 3 weeks ago, Trent, I said, this is the guy, if you're going to move on, if you're going to move forward from Jonathan Smith, and we don't allocate for people to lose their jobs per se, but if you were going to move forward from him, then this would be an ideal fit. At least I believe it was. And we will talk with Mitch Lyons later on today. Mondays with Mitch at 7:18. I thought it was a really good fit because for obvious reasons. First of all, he knows the Big Ten. Okay. And I do think that's important. I know it's expanded, and you got Oregon, you got Washington, you got USC, you got UCLA, but still, he understands, for the most part, the Big Ten. Midwest guy who you want to cultivate your talent in the Midwest. Does it mean you want to restrict yourself to the Midwest? Absolutely not. Don't take that out of context. You want to own your state and own as much of the Midwest as you possibly can, okay? Thirdly, he don't like Michigan. And that was a big deal to Spartan fans. Now, you may shake your head at it right now and say that's not all that's cracked up to be. But when Jonathan Smith came here and people were asking him about Michigan and the energy and emotion were not up to snuff, it bothered you. This guy knows about it. He lived it. This is an important hire for Jay Batt, the athletic director. And if it is true, and they come to an agreement, I think it's a rock solid one. Now, there are things that people will complain about, certainly about certain seasons that he's had there, but he's also had some really good seasons at Northwestern we're referring to. That's a really hard place to recruit to. Let me tell you why. First of all, and this is not a knock on any other academia institution in the Big Ten, but at Northwestern, from the coaches I've talked to in the past, it is really hard to get student athletes there who aren't up to the academic standards on no matter what. Like in some places, well, if you're a fringe person, at least you're an athlete, and though they might be able to help you in a little bit. At Northwestern, that doesn't seem to matter. There are times in which, I don't know if this is necessarily true in football, but I know it was in basketball, where they are literally are shut down for more than a week, where you're not practicing because of the academic side of things. So that can be a little challenging too. And let's face it, the fact that Northwestern rarely won in the Big Ten was a factor as well. So this should help Pat Fitzgerald because he knows how to build programs. He did. He built a Northwestern program that was competitive. I know it wasn't Ohio State, it wasn't Michigan, it wasn't Penn State, but at Northwestern, he gave them some of the best years of football they have ever had. He had 3 double-digit winning seasons combined. Everybody else before him had 2. So that tells you something, all right? And the fact that he has been able to, if you believe in drafting, developing players at the highest level, there is something to be said about that at the collegiate level too. Brings in players, develops them, makes them better. Now, it is a different world that you don't always have time for that. Ask Jonathan Smith about that. We get it. But it is one of those situations where if you have certain players who aren't going to leave, then giving them some of that time to get better can be very beneficial. Will he be able to handle the portal, the NIL, and everything else? All indications would say yes. And here's why. When you look at donors who are expected to give a lot of money, who are asked, not expected, asked to give a lot of money, what do they want? They want dynamic speakers. They want people to show you that your money's going in the right place. They want people who are involved, people with energy, people who are shake hands, people who give fiery speeches. I know that doesn't always win football games. So a lot of you may be shaking your heads, but it does win over people. And yeah, I hesitate to use that word because I think a lot of times, Trent, that's used in a negative connotation, because you're selling yourself, you're selling your program, you're selling your school, and you're selling your team. That's what you're doing. You're also selling your ideas and motives and your vision, right? It's the new way of dealing with as a football coach. It is. And please, let's not think that he's got to be doing something that nobody else has to do. Everybody has to do it. You don't think Sharon Moore's got to do it? You don't think Ryan Day's got to do it? No, they may not have to do it to as many people because you may have certain people who are out there with bigger pockets and willing to donate on just a whim on the fact that, hey, we need better players. Michigan's going through that right now. After getting embarrassed at home against Ohio State, what did they feel like they have to do? We got to go get better players. That means we're going to ask for more money. That means we're going to spend more money. Okay. That means we're going to lose some of the players we have, gain some of the other players we don't have. It is a constant battle against teams all over the country. Lane Kiffin going to LSU is great for LSU. It's going to be a massive challenge for the rest of the SEC and other schools in that area. If you want to go down and dip into the SEC country or dip into Louisiana, which is truly one of the top 5 fertile grounds for high school football players in the country, you're going to have to deal with Lane Kiffin and the money that LSU is willing to throw at them. So we're going to talk a lot about the Pat Fitzgerald possible hiring. Again, and we say that because it hasn't been announced. And we will do that with a number of different people today. Mondays with Mitch Lyons at 7:18. Matt Murschell of the Orlando Sentinel writes for the college football landscape and does so for the Orlando Sentinel and will join us at 8 o'clock. And then at 8:35 for On 3 publication, Jesse Simonson will join us as well. We'll talk about, of course, Pat Fitzgerald, but other coaching moves that are taking place throughout the country as well. So we'll get to all that coming up here on X's and Bros. We've got Hero and Heel at 8:18, so we welcome that. We've got a lot to get to here on an early Monday morning, and we will do that right after a quick timeout on X's and Bros, brought to you by this hour, Mitch Lyons Wealth, MitchLyonsWealth.com. 110, 101 in his career at Northwestern. That's the voice of Pat Fitzgerald, who could be Michigan State's new head coach, maybe announced as early as today. The 50-year-old, he's going to turn 51 tomorrow. That'd be a hell of a birthday present for him. Energetic, high energy, right? But also very open and seemingly very honest and very direct. Who doesn't love a coach like that? Why wouldn't you love a coach like that? Pat Fitzgerald could be the next head coach at Michigan State, and he is as close to, I know you don't want to live in the past. I don't blame you. But let's face it, there are certain names and certain coaches who are a staple that others are going to be measured against. It's just the way it is. When you go to Michigan State University football, Mark D'Antonio comes to mind. But let's face it, you want a football coach. And the reason you liked Mark D'Antonio so much, the reason he is so regaled there at MSU, I'm sure there's a number of reasons, but primarily it's because he's as close to Tom Izzo in a football setting as you can get. And that's who Pat Fitzgerald is. I know it doesn't always work, but it makes it easier to accept. That's what people loved about Mark D'Antonio. They love the winning. They love shoving it in Michigan's face. They loved all that. But let's be honest here. He is one of those guys who is as close to Tom Izzo on the football field as you can get. That is Pat Fitzgerald. Because that's what you feel like you need. Jonathan Smith was, by all accounts, well-respected, communicated well with his players. Players really liked him. I know they didn't win as much as you wanted them to win. Played pretty hard for them, don't you think? I think so. They weren't good enough. That's obvious. Mistakes made at the wrong time. Changes weren't made soon enough. I get all that. But when people say, well, players coach, players got to want to play for you, most of those players, you could tell, did like their head football coach. You know who's got to like them too, though? You need to blend the best of both worlds. That's as simple as it gets. You got to blend the best of both worlds, and that is you got to make sure donors and fans like you too. So that news could come out and be made official shortly. Don't know exactly when, but all indications are that this is the next move for Michigan State football. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, why, when the announcement came, it was actually yesterday, the announcement came that Jonathan Smith was fired. Somebody said, well, why would you wait till after he won? And I said, how does it help you if you fire him before the season is out? And how does it hurt you that he coaches the final game of the year? Yeah, but they won. They won one game. His record, not good enough. 9-15 overall, 4-14 in Big Ten play. It doesn't cut it. Sorry. Michigan State should not be finishing near the bottom of the Big Ten in football. Shouldn't be doing it in really any sport. Anyway, it's one of the bigger stories. It's not the biggest story in college football. The biggest story is Lane Kiffin, as we know. Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss to become the next head coach at LSU, led the Rebels to an 11-1 record, spot in the college football playoff. He's going to get a contract believed to be worth $12 million per season over the next 7 seasons in Baton Rouge, and he'll have to win there. Massive pressure on him. Understands it, signs the contract, he gets it. Big reason why that's so appealing, as I mentioned earlier, is because of the high school talent that is there in Louisiana. I do like the fact that he doesn't coach Ole Miss in the playoffs. I don't know how you feel about it. Welcome the phone calls on the Meyer Hotline, 866-838-4843. I don't think there's any reason he should coach them. If I'm Ole Miss, from his standpoint, obviously he would want to coach them. Who wouldn't? You've led them this far, give them the chance. It is an open, not invitation, but it's basically an open forum for him to say, this is what you're going to get at LSU. Kids come play for me at LSU. I want to take these guys with me, a chance to even strengthen the bond that much more. If I'm Ole Miss, hell no. I want a guy who's going to be representing Ole Miss. Now, there are reports that indicated Lane Kiffin told his staff, if you want to come with me, you jump on this plane right now. If not, you're out. What kind of bully coaching is that? If you care about the kids, then wouldn't you want someone there to lead them into giving them the best opportunity to win a championship? If it's not you, wouldn't you want somebody to take? And if that person then doesn't get the head coaching job and wants to come help you at LSU, what is wrong with that? It's called being spiteful. Giants and Patriots close out Week 13 of the NFL on Monday Night Football. Jackson Dart expected back under center for New York. New England leads the AFC. They're 10-2, having won 9 in a row. The Giants have lost 6 in a row. There is a legitimate question in the NFL right now. Is there a Super Bowl favorite? Is there a Super Bowl contender that you feel is the team to beat? I would argue no. We'll get to that a little bit later on if we have time. Red Wings off until Tuesday. Despite salvaging a point in Boston Saturday, they are winless in their last 4. They've dropped to 5th place in the division, by the way. Pistons are going to host Atlanta tonight. Detroit snapped a 2-game slide with a road win in Miami Saturday. They've won 8 of 10. Hawks come in having won 7 of 10. Here's the Mitch Lyons-Well poll question of the day. Do you think MSU was right, to fire Jonathan Smith? Yes, I've seen enough. No, he deserved more time, or it won't matter. Now, I can understand the first two. A lot of Spartan fans are done. I would ask you, can you give me an idea when the turning point for you was? When was it that you're like, okay, this is not going to work? Trent and I talked about this earlier this year. We thought it was the UCLA game. Okay. Yeah, some might argue last year Rutgers. Okay. I know it's just year one. It's just year one. Give him a chance, but it's a chance to become bowl eligible. You thought one guy coming in might make that big of a difference, and it wasn't. So some might say the UCLA game earlier this year, considering UCLA had fired their coach, Deshaun Foster, fired coordinators, looked like they were in an awful place, and came in and didn't just beat you up. So I get that. No, he deserved more time is a tough sell for most, just because in today's day and age of college athletics, you're not giving people much time anymore. They don't get the opportunity to build programs. Anyway, that's the poll question, the Mitch Lyons-Well poll question. Vote as often as you want. At XB Mornings on Twitter, we'll give the results in the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. In the meantime, this is what we're asking you. Want you to text the word Ferris to 21,000, and you will become eligible to win Lions tickets Thursday night against Dallas. Ferris for Ferris Coffee, Ferris to 21,000, and we will pick a winner Thursday morning when we broadcast live in downtown Detroit. This is X's and Bros on a Monday morning across the great state of Michigan on the Michigan Sports Network. Okay, back with you on X's and Bros Monday through Friday, 6 until 9 throughout the great state of Michigan. We are live right now on YouTube, on Twitter, and of course on Facebook as well. So glad you're with us. Mitch Lyons, Mondays with Mitch, will join us 7:18. We've got some good guests here today, as always, with Mitch at 7:18 to give us his perspective on the Michigan State situation. But at 8 o'clock, we will also visit with a guy who's got a pretty good handle on what's going on in college football. Matt Murschel from the Orlando Sentinel writes about college football. There are some changes taking place, so he'll join us at 8 o'clock. And at 8:35, we will do that with Jesse Simonson of On 3. He will join us at 8:35 here on X's and Bros as well. Michigan, Ohio State. Bill was there for the afternoon show. Right there near the stadium Saturday morning for a noon kickoff against Ohio State, the game. Michigan, as you know by now, beaten up pretty good in that game. I think, just the fact that people were talking, well, if they win this game, they're in the college football playoff, was, if you watched Michigan throughout the year, borderline laughable, but understandable that it would have been the biggest win that any team had in the country at the time. But it really did show you how far away that team is. Like, you can look at certain teams and say, all right, they're close. Michigan's got a long way to go. They're an average football team. That's what they are. Their name helps them, but they're an average football team. There's not a lot of special pieces there right now. You look at Ohio State, and I'll be honest with you. The first, and I was there, so there was a hesitant anticipation from people there who are Michigan fans. I don't know how many truly believed that they could win that game. Of course, I thought the same thing last year. But you knew damn well there's no way, and we said this last week, no way Ryan Day is going to do the same stupid thing that he did a year ago, get pig-headed, stubborn, and feel like, you know what, we're going to win bully ball. They did it both. They did both. They were able to throw the ball, and the Saiyan kid can sling it, okay? I know he's not real big. I'm not saying he's an NFL quarterback, but he's fearless, and he can sling it. Bryce Underwood did not look comfortable at all. It had nothing to do with the pressure of the defense that Ohio State was applying. It had more to do what I thought in a moment. He just did not look like he wanted to go downfield at all. The best plays were pass interferences for Michigan's aerial attack. When you tell me we've got the best freshman quarterback in the country, and I don't know if this is coaching or if this is the kid or what, but the reins were really taut on him in that game. And I thought they were extremely predictable. What I was saying to people around me is, you've got to throw on downs they don't expect you to throw on. It was the typical way back in the day in the 70s where it's almost like run, pass, I thought for sure there might be times on first down, throw it, see what you get. Didn't incorporate their tight ends like I thought they were going to. They were just, you can say outcoached, and that's fine. They were outmanned for sure in every aspect of it. But it's clear how much better one team was than the other. At least a year ago, what Michigan had were the stud defensive tackles and limiting the run. And Ohio State played right into their hands. This year, Michigan really didn't have an answer for much. Now, 3 redshirt freshmen on the offensive line is a little bit of a handicap for you. Losing certain other players, especially Marshall, during the game doesn't help you. No Haynes to start, Marshall throughout. I get it. You're going with and this is what people said to me, well, we've got a walk-on tailback. And my response was, if you're supposed to be as good as you say you are, and it's Michigan, shouldn't you have more than 2 tailbacks? Maybe it's different today, okay, in the NIL and the transfer portal and everything else. And if that is the case, shouldn't you be able to get some of those transfer portal players? Anyway, I digress. You can say what you want about Ryan Day, and it's his first win over Michigan, but there was a lot of resolve there and a lot of growth, a lot of learning. They are really good. Ohio State is really good. And you know that. I don't have to tell you that. Hell, they're ranked number 1 in the country for a reason. But Michigan, I don't know if it felt like to you that Ohio State played almost looser. Like Justin Sayin was clearly protected well and took advantage of it. I mean, there was no quarterback pressure whatsoever. No pressure whatsoever on Justin Sayin. He sat back there like he could, knit a sweater. It was unbelievable. Michigan got no pressure. They gave up some pressure, but I mean, look, there was some time for Bryson Wonder. I felt like he was ready to go check down on almost every single play. What were you saying? I'm sorry. Smith, yeah. Yep, Smith, yeah. Mm-hmm. I thought a lot of it changed. Look, I thought Carnell Tate was just as good, to be honest with you, in the passing game for Ohio State. I thought it really changed when Michigan gets the pick, right, on Ohio State's first possession. Because Michigan got the ball, went down, had a big 36-yard run on the left side. I thought it was impressive, massive hole. You get down there, you're looking for 7. You can't. It showed you on first downs how you can't be going, behind the change, because Michigan was, I think, 1 for 9 on third downs. Anyway, but I thought it really changed after they get the pick. You're on the team's. You're on the plus side of the 50, and you can't score a touchdown. That's an issue. If you go there, like I wouldn't have expected them to automatically score a touchdown on the first drive. You got points. That's great. But on the second drive, yes. Especially since you're working with a short field. And especially since you've got, oh my gosh, we've got a mobile quarterback. All these people with mobile quarterbacks. Okay, where's the mobility help you? How did it help you against Ohio State, who's got a lot of fast players? I didn't see it. But anyway, you go up 10-0 there instead of 6-0. I'm not sure how much it completely alters the game, but it's a factor. There's no question about it. It's a factor. I said while I'm sitting there watching the game, I said to people around me, I said, you guys realize, I mean, that's a win for Ohio State, getting just the field goal. I said, you're up 6-0, but this is not a good feeling. So Ohio State's offense is going to be tough to stop. If you're going to have to play out, if you're going to try and outscore them, then field goals aren't going to win you this game. Ohio State comes down, scores. Michigan did get a bit of a win on the field goal that made it 10-6 at the time, but it was clear who the better team was. They've got, I would say this, and they've got some young players, and I get it, and too much is probably made of the quarterback, even though I didn't think he looked comfortable at all. There was minimal impact from him in that game. Look, he can have this great game against Central Michigan, my alma mater. He can have this great game against Central Michigan. That doesn't mean a damn thing. Not a damn thing to you, and it shouldn't. What are you going to do against the Big Ten? What are you going to do against those defenses? How are you going to handle coaches who are on the other sideline or in the other box, and they've got an NFL pedigree like Matt Patricia? I know you don't like him. I don't blame you. Okay. All I'm telling you is the dude dials up good defenses. He's a good defensive coordinator, period. How are you going to handle those players who are playing that scheme from that guy who has seen just about everything? you can imagine. So were they outcoached? Absolutely. Were they outmanned? 100%. And they've got a long, long way to go. But, and this is what people told me before the game, I get it. Bryce Underwood's only 18. I understand that. If you're going to pin certain dollar figures on certain players at the highest level, Aiden Hutchinson, and say, when you make that much money, and we said this on Friday, when you make that much money, you are going to be held to a different standard. Is that fair? I think so. Did you see Myles Garrett yesterday? Another sack. So he's got 19 and a half. Why isn't that same mental or that same philosophy passed along to college players? Look, they're getting paid a lot of money, man. The class, you as a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, a senior, all that other stuff, that's got to go out the window. People had it for Arch Manning at Texas earlier this year. Did they not? Tell me when I'm wrong here. The hype was ridiculous for him, a Heisman Trophy candidate, when he's taken a minimal number of snaps. They were preseason number one. Correct, in a defensive battle at the Horseshoe. He was a big reason for that. You and I both talked about it. We thought it was ridiculous that it was that much on a guy who was really unproven. And you know what? He's had some good games, but he's had some bad games too. And people have lit him up, and rightfully so. He makes a lot of money going to Texas. What about Bryce Underwood? This dude makes millions of dollars. Does he not? Tell me when I'm wrong. He makes millions of dollars. And you're going to sit there and say, oh, sorry, it's Chip Lindsey's fault. Sorry, it's the offensive line's fault. Sorry, it's the offense in general's fault. Oh, it was the weather. It was the wind and all. Dude looked like garbage. If you're going to come out and tell me when you arrive on a campus, I don't care who it is, you've never seen anybody like me. You've never had a freshman like me. Those are strong words. There's not much humility there. You better be ready. People have the right to criticize because there are donors, or one specific donor, paying a lot of money for you to perform better than what you did. Now, is it his fault alone? Absolutely not. Sharon Moore has to be taken to task. Chip Lindsey has to be taken to task. All that stuff. Wink Martindale, same thing. That's all part of it. All I'm telling you is, when you look at that team at 9-3, the three best teams on their schedule they played all beat them, and beat them soundly, I might add. Oklahoma, for sure. USC, yes. Ohio State, absolutely. They're just a team. There's nothing special there. There's no threat. And quite honestly, when you look at them moving forward, most people would say, I'm not seeing a whole lot that leaves me super encouraged for next season. Some, yes. People will say, oh, you get Bryce Underwood again. Well, that's great, but that offensive line has got to be better. Chip Lindsey's got to be better. He's got to have some better weapons around him, right? He's going to have certain running backs. They've got a lot to fix, and they got to fix it pretty quick. I'm just talking about the perception or the amount of people who feel like, you know what, you've got to have a quarterback. You got to pay a lot of money for people. Well, what about the expectations from those who are paying the expected person who wants the money? Bryce Underwood comes out as the number one recruit in the country. He expects a lot of money. He got the money. What about the people who paid the money? Should they have high expectations? Absolutely. And I asked this question aloud the other day. When does a kid stop becoming a freshman? If you're taking as many snaps as he is, You're dropping back as often as you have. You're seeing as many defenses. You're preparing as much as you would think you'd be prepared, and rightfully so. When do you stop becoming a freshman? And the reason I got this is because remember when Tate Ratledge said earlier this year, I think it was after game 3, maybe game 4, he said, look, we're no longer rookies. They've taken enough snaps. They've started enough games. They've learned and watched enough film. They're no longer rookies. Could you not say the same thing for a highly touted freshman who's making millions of dollars? Why not? Why can't you do that? Why is it taboo? Because he's 18? Listen, when you can get out of college and legitimately say, I don't have to work a whole lot more in my life because you've made millions of dollars. It's okay to expect a little bit more from that player, I think, and not even a little bit more. You expect them to be difference makers. That's the reason they get paid more than anybody else. I ask you, was he a difference maker against Ohio State? I understand that it's a team sport, and I get why people will defend certain athletes in certain positions. I've done it too. I'm just asking you aloud here, was he a difference maker? If you watch that game objectively, the answer to that would be no. It's why he was recruited so heavily, and it's more importantly, why he was paid so handsomely, was to be a difference maker in games like that. Not against CMU. You're supposed to be a difference maker against Oklahoma, USC, Ohio State. The teams that threatened you the most, at least going into the season. Sure, rivalry games, you could say MSU as well. Are you a difference maker in those games? Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. The text line is Sports Radio 21,000. We'll get to some texts. Love to hear from you on a Monday morning. And of course, Mitch Lyons joins us 7:18. It's Mondays with Mitch here on X's and Bros, brought to you this first hour by Mitch Lyons Wealth and MitchLyonsWealth.com. Hey, just a reminder, Thursday, we will be broadcasting live from Meyer at Rivertown Market in Detroit. The significance there is our friends at Ferris Coffee and their Den Blend, which is their best seller and the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. They have been brewing that in Grand Rapids for 100 years. Family owned and operated. It's as prideful a thing as that they have associated with them. And they've got a lot of other things, available right there at Ferris Coffee. They've got outstanding nuts, caramel corn, and all kinds of different things, especially for the holidays for you. But they want to send you to the Lions and Cowboys game Thursday night. They've got 2 tickets for you. So here's what we're asking you to do. We're asking you to text Ferris. It's very simple. Ferris, as in Ferris Coffee, as in Ferris State, as in Ferris Bueller. Ferris to 21,000. Text Ferris to 21,000, and you will be entered as a possibility of winning 2 tickets to see the Lions and the Cowboys at Ford Field, courtesy of Ferris Coffee. Think about that for a minute. It's as easy as it gets. I mean, you text people all the time. How hard is it to text the word Ferris to 21,000? Simple, all right? Especially if you want to go see the Lions play the Cowboys. And that is a huge game, folks. Unfortunately, yeah, it's a huge game. We've got that coming up here on BrO's throughout the great state of Michigan. Freddie's a good friend of ours. Hope you had a really good Thanksgiving. He's always listening. And he said this. He said, I hope Ole Miss is Steve Fisher in Michigan in 1989 and those kids for the program. In other words, remember, Bill Frieder said he was going to take the Arizona State job. Bo Schembechler said, I want a Michigan man coaching my team. That's where it stems from. Fisher left Arizona State. Michigan went on to win their only basketball national title under Steve Fisher, with Terry Mills and Lloyd Vaught and Ramil Robinson and guys like that. He says the Micah Parsons trade has truly helped both teams. Very good chance Green Bay and Dallas are closer to last place if Dallas kept Micah and not making the other trades in Green Bay if they didn't add him to their defensive line. Yeah, I don't know if they'd be closer to last place. Green Bay better than Minnesota. The Dallas better than the Giants and Washington because of the injuries. But I don't know if either one would be contending for a playoff spot. How's that? So I don't think we're too far different in that regard. Jerry Jones was made fun of. And I'm not going to try and tell you that he deserves a pat on the back here. But he was made fun of for handling the Micah Parsons deal the way he did. I made fun of him. I wouldn't say I made fun of him. I criticized him. He was criticized. And I think at the time, rightfully so. It turns out, and there's still 5-6 games left, it turns out that his team has been pretty good in the middle. Are they as good as Green Bay? Offensively, they're better than Green Bay. I don't know if they're better. They sure aren't defensively better than the Packers. But they're getting better. That's going to be a hell of a challenge Thursday night. It is. It's going to be really hard to handle that Dallas offense.
Well, and perhaps the Micah Parsons trade, as we look back on it, was an attempt to hone in on the offense. I mean, that's what you're going to build around. That's going to be your identity. And then if you can just be good enough up the middle on defense by getting Kenny Clark, that's what he told us at the time, and be a solid defense, maybe that's the team they want to be. I don't know. But as things have aged, I can understand Jerry's line of thought a lot more than I did at the time, if that's fair.
I think that is fair. I still don't think, they're not good enough. Don't forget Quinnen Williams. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, right. That's a big part of it, of course.
Kenny Clark, and then you've got draft picks that you're going to be able to address. Green Bay may be in some cap trouble moving forward. The Lions are going to be in cap trouble moving forward too, folks. All right? Let's not look at the Packers and say, see, this is what's happening. Detroit's going to have some issues too. And right now, let's be honest. Lions look like a playoff team to you? No, they don't. The win by Carolina yesterday, right? They upset the Rams.
Yeah.
Stunned most people. Stunned me. Don't tell me they didn't stun you. Absolutely they did. You're looking at teams right now in the NFC, and you're probably a lot like me. You're asking, is my team better? And it's hard to say yes. The way Dallas is playing, they've won 3 in a row. It's hard to say that Detroit is better. This is the most painful thing that we can. And Dallas is 6-5-1. They have one fewer win than the Lions, but they look better, don't they? I mean, if you're the one who always tells me the eye test. If it's about the eye test, you look at Dallas and you look at Detroit. Don't tell me that your eyes are siding with the Lions, because then I know you're lying, or you've got a blindfold on. The Eagles already beat you. All right. So you've got those two teams in the NFC East. In the NFC, in your own division, this pains me to say this, but facts are facts. Aren't the Bears the number 1 seed in the NFC right now?
Yep, they sure are.
They've played 12 games, dude. They're 9-3. If my team did that, and there were Bears fans going, your team's not that good, I'd be like, what, are you kidding me? What do they have to do to prove it to you? You got to be consistent. They've won 5 in a row. I don't care how much they beat teams by. I don't care if you think it's a mirage. I don't care. I always use point differential. They're a plus 6. That's it. Detroit leads the division in point differential. Plus 76. Chicago's winning close games. They're winning by forcing turnovers. They're winning thanks to their defense. So what? What's wrong with that? I'm not claiming they're going to win a Super Bowl. I'm trying to win the damn division. I'm trying to get into the playoffs. And right now their team isn't. Green Bay's better than you. Don't say they're not. They swept your ass. They beat you on Thanksgiving. There's this big emotion. Oh, you're at Thanksgiving. We're at home. We're going to make a difference. No, didn't happen. Carolina and Tampa, even though you beat Tampa, they have the same record as you at 7-5. Now, I don't think that division's very good. Every single team is a minus in the point differential. I don't know if you've noticed that. Tampa's a minus 22. Carolina's a minus 50. Atlanta's a minus 33. And New Orleans is a minus 113. All of them in the red. 2 of those teams. One of them is going to win that division. One of those teams is in the playoffs. Well, you're not. And then you got the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Niners, all really good. Rams and Seahawks at 9-3. The Niners at 9-4. They're all better than you. How you making the postseason? That's the reality of it. If you're going to be really hard on the Tigers for last year, and so am I, for their collapse to sneak in as a wild card, then you need to be hard on this team. Because guess what? The expectations you had for this team are higher than the expectations you had for the Tigers last year. Mine aren't, but yours are. This was Super Bowl or bust. Right now, it's bust. Moving forward, do you think they're beating Dallas? I want you to be honest with yourself for a moment. Do you think they're beating Dallas? Do you think they're beating the Rams? Do you think they're beating the Bears? You got to wiggle your way to at least 11 wins, at least, and need some help in doing that. That means you got to win 4 of your last 5. I want to know where the 4 are coming from. You don't play Pittsburgh every week. You only get them 1 week. So you get the Rams, you get the Cowboys, I should say, the Rams, the Steelers, the Cowboys, or the Vikings, and the Bears. That's a tough sled, man. That's an uphill climb. Mitch Lyons from MitchLyonsWealth.com joins us on the other side. It's Mondays with Mitch as we talk Michigan State football and more right after this.
Soar to new heights of winning with Eagle Casino and Sports. Enjoy your favorite games wherever you are, whether at home or on the go. Dive into exciting slots, spin the roulette wheel, or challenge yourself with virtual table games, all at your fingertips. Sign up now and opt in to receive a deposit match up to $1,500 for the casino, plus up to 100 free spins. Download the Eagle Casino and Sports app today and experience winning with just a tap. Go you! Must be located in Michigan and 21 years or older. Other conditions apply. Visit playeagle.com to join the action. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community, just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact that Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Thanks for tuning in to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard, only on the Michigan Sports Network.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
18 after the hour. Welcome back on this Monday morning. X's and Bros throughout the great state of Michigan, including at our affiliate in Lansing, WVFN AM, 7:30 a.m. The Game, and of course in Grand Rapids, WMAX 96.1 The Game. It's in that area in which Mitch Lyons lives, and he joins us here on X's and Bros. It's Mondays with Mitch, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth at MitchLyonsWealth.com. Hope you had a good weekend, my friend. How was your Thanksgiving? Good?
Oh, man. Great time with the family, food, a little football. Didn't go the way we wanted, which I'm sure we'll get to, but great weekend as always.
All right, your alma mater fires its head coach, Jonathan Smith. When was the turning point for him, do you think?
Yeah, I think for me, and maybe it's, a little bit of hyperbole or whatnot, but the moment he really couldn't distinctly answer what a win to Michigan would mean to him, I think he lost a lot of Michigan State fans. So it is what it is. It's water under the bridge now. Just wasn't a good fit, for whatever reason. But the passion just didn't seem to be there. And I know, hey, there's a lot of ways to win. Bill Walsh didn't show a lot of passion either, and he won Super Bowls. But whatever way it is, if you don't win, people aren't going to like it. So it's, he could have been a rah-rah guy, and if he's losing, that people would want the opposite. So, it just didn't work out.
Yeah, that's a really good point. What is it Michigan State football fans you think need in their head coach? Their next head coach?
Well, I think we just want somebody that's got some fire. I mean, Michigan State football is built, on toughness, on defense, on, smash mouth, right? I mean, that's just kind of what, Perlis brought to the program. He brought it from the Duffy days. And, we're more blue collar. Hey, we're not going to be this fancy, high flying run and shoot type of team. It's a team that's going to go out that's going to beat you up every Saturday. And, if these reports that Pat Fitzgerald are true, I think that's a measure he brings. He kind of exudes that, a little more dynamic at the mic. I think he can lead people, lead fan bases, lead alumni. I think that's a good direction as opposed to where we were.
Well, you played, so you know what it's like to play for a strong leader. What characteristics does Pat Fitzgerald have that would make you, Mitch Lyons, want to play, whether it be while you're at MSU, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, in the NFL? What would make you want to play for him, do you think?
Well, I think it goes back to even what he was as a player, right? He played the game, which I always want in my coach. I want somebody that's been there, that understands what we're going through as players throughout the course of the season. He's been there. He was a bit of an overachiever, which I like. He's always got a chip on his shoulder. That's kind of inherent. And, and I think he's done it. You've seen a guy, and I know his last couple of years at Northwestern, weren't great. And I understand that. And I understand why people maybe have concern about that. But I think, what he did, and fans were tied there a little bit, right? Academically,
for sure,
it just wasn't a level playing field by any means. So,
yeah.
But he had success there, right? And he did it with those attributes I'm talking about: toughness, grit. They found a way to win. It wasn't always pretty, but they find a way to win. And so I think he's a guy that brings instant credibility to the program. He's known throughout the Midwest. He knows the Big Ten. He's not coming from the West Coast and detached from the Big Ten. And I think he stepped right into that, and I think he brings immediate credibility. And honestly, I think more credible than any other head coach in the state at this point, if we're going to be honest about it.
Yeah, I think he brings all those things, and I love the toughness. But it's not just a fake toughness; it's a legitimate toughness because he was an All-American linebacker. He was a captain. He was a leader, but also because he knows the landscape. He knows what it takes to win in the Big Ten. And you're right. He's done it with basically one hand tied behind his back at Northwestern. He is Mitch Lyons, the former tight end, Michigan State, Atlanta Falcons, Pittsburgh Steelers, at MitchLyonsWealth.com. Call him today, 866-85-STEEL. Sign up for his free newsletter and great advice. A digital copy of his book, Retirement Steel, on the website right now, MitchLyonsWealth.com. Is the Lions season over?
Well, Shep, I look at it this way. My gut tells me more than likely yes, but the reality of it is it isn't. But we'll know by Thursday night because this is a must-win game. They've got to go 4-1 the rest of the way. In all likelihood, I don't see them going out in LA and beating the Rams. Now that could happen. The NFL's crazy, and we've all seen it. I don't really like the matchup against Dallas, to be honest with you. On paper, I think they're going to torch our D. We have a lack of pressure, and if you're going to give Dak Prescott all night to throw, I think CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens are going to eat our lunch. But the NFL is a crazy league, and we see it every week. If they can somehow find a way to win that game, I think they're back in it. I think they're alive. Hey, we'll go out and play the Rams. I don't expect to win, but if you got that, great. But at the end of the day, they've got to win those last three against Steelers, Vikings, and then you got to go to Chicago. Mm-hmm. And it's probably going to be for all the marbles to get in. So anything can happen, but it comes down to this week. They've obviously got to win this week.
Yeah, don't forget Jake Ferguson, your old position, the tight end. He's one of the better ones in the entire NFL. Tough news for Frank Ragnow. We were so exuberant Wednesday with the fact that he was coming back. Didn't expect him on Thanksgiving, but said, you know what, if he comes back against Dallas, it'd be great. Then we find out there's a bit of an issue with his health and that he doesn't pass the physical. What's that do to a team that was so hopeful for a return of one of their best players and one of their best leaders to find out now he ain't coming on any white horse?
Well, I think it's a bit of a gut punch, like a lot of things have been this year, right? Yeah. I think it's a one-day gut punch, and I'm sure they've moved on already. The bigger question to me, Shep, is how do you not know you've got a hamstring injury that you can't perform on for the rest of the season? That's just baffling to me, and I'd love to know the behind-the-scenes story on that and what really led to that. How are you coming back if you've got a hamstring that's so beat up that you can't play the rest of the season? Why are you coming back? That's perplexing completely, and I don't understand it. I don't know why we went through the charade, but it is what it is. It would have been a great help if he was 100% and could step in there, but that's just the reality of it. Is he isn't, and we're going to have to put a patchwork line up against the Lions and try to keep Jared Goff upright. And but my bigger concern is on the other side of the ball and just the absolute lack of pressure that we put on opposing quarterbacks. It's a killer. We can blame Hutch, and I'm not saying he shouldn't take some of the blame, but we have nobody getting to the quarterback, period. And then Hutch gets double teamed, and my whole thing is, hey, Micah Parsons gets double teamed, Myles Garrett gets double teamed, but they get home. And I'm sick and tired of hearing about pressures and he got in the vicinity of the quarterback. Get the guy on the ground and let's make an impact that matters.
Thank you.
And we're just not seeing that from Hutch or anybody.
Yeah, Myles Garrett, you're right. I say the same thing. Parsons, Garrett, Hendrickson when he's healthy, Crosby, they're all getting double teamed, and somehow they're still putting up big numbers. That's the reason you get paid a lot of money. Besides the big news with Pat Fitzgerald possibly becoming Michigan State's new head coach, the other big news in college football, of course, is Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss for LSU. Title contender for Ole Miss. Do you believe he should be coaching that team? And if so, why? And if not, why not?
I don't even blame Lane Kiffin. I don't blame Ole Miss. I blame the NCAA. I mean, having this calendar where the season's not even over and you've got transfer portal open, you've got a national signing day, you've got all this stuff going while teams are still playing. So you're supposed to be coaching a playoff team while at the same time trying to re-recruit your players on your existing team, and not to mention go out and try to get guys that you're looking to, plug in to be on next year's team. That just makes no sense to me. And it's unfortunate. Do I wish Lane Kiffin was there for his kids? And not for Lane Kiffin so much. Hey, you're jumping ship. On one hand, on Ole Miss at this point, I get it. Hey, I don't want somebody that's not committed to the program coaching our team. I understand that. But for the kids' sake, I hate it. And that's who gets hurt in all this, are the kids. It's that fifth year kid that walked on and, here's his chance to go get some glory. And now this coach is leaving and taking his offensive coordinator with him too. And I don't know how much else of the staff is leaving, but it's just an ugly thing. It's an ugly spot on NCAA.
Agree 100% with that. But I completely understand why Ole Miss doesn't want him coaching their kids and having it basically an open forum to look at what LSU's getting if they get a chance to reach the national championship. When the announcement is made, I hope we can talk again soon here on this show regarding Pat Fitzgerald. In the meantime, have a great week, my friend. Thanks for joining us on Mondays with Mitch, as always.
All right, go Lions, and let's find a way to get it done Thursday.
Yeah, amen. And we are actually giving people a chance to go to that game. If you text Ferris, Ferris, to 21,000, you will become eligible to get 2 tickets to the Lions and Cowboys Thursday night. I will announce that Thursday morning when I broadcast live from the Meijer in downtown Detroit.
Make sure you spell it right, folks. By the way, I've got a couple rolling in that have typos. You've got to spell it correctly. Ferris. Double check your text if you sent one. Spell
Yeah,
it
don't-
correctly. We'd hate for you to miss out.
Yeah, don't do what I do and not check that before I send something out. All right, when we come back, speaking of the Lions, have they lost their grit? Some would say yes. We'll talk about that with you on the other side on X's and Bros right after this, brought to you this hour by our friends at Meyer.
Soar to new heights of winning with Eagle Casino and Sports. Enjoy your favorite games wherever you are, whether at home or on the go. Dive into exciting slots, spin the roulette wheel, or challenge yourself with virtual table games, all at your fingertips. Sign up now and opt in to receive a deposit match up to $1,500 for the casino, plus up to 100 free spins. Download the Eagle Casino and Sports app today and experience winning with just a tap. Go you! Must be located in Michigan and 21 years or older. Other conditions apply. Visit playeagle.com to join the action. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You are listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network, but you don't need to be in Michigan to tune us in. Search XB Mornings on X or X's and Bros on YouTube.
Shop Meyer's Cyber Deals November 30th through December 2nd and save a good deal more on the hottest gifts of the season, like 50% off JBL Tune Buds and Flex, Beats Solo 4-on-ear wireless headphones for $129.95, and JBL Grip portable speakers for $84.95. Low prices on presents they'll love. That's the gift-giving good life at Meyer. Cyber deals are available in the Meyer app or in store. Exclusions apply.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
.35 after the hour. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9 throughout the great state of Michigan. Our thanks to our great station affiliates. Cadillac WKAD, the Ticket 93.7 FM. Of course, in Grand Rapids, also serving Kalamazoo and Holland, WMAX 96.1 FM. The Game, Petoskey and Charlevoix, WMBN 104.7 FM, the Ticket, Northern Michigan. New Traverse City, 93.7 FM, the Ticket. And, of course, in Lansing, WVFN AM, 7:30 a.m. The Game. I'm Matt Shepard. Trent Bally is with us as well. We broadcast and stream live on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Facebook as well. I ask you this. How do you describe or define grit? Please. It's not a hat. It's not a T-shirt. It's not a sweatshirt. It's not a hat that's turned upside down that says grit on it.
That's your favorite.
That's my favorite. Of course, I see a lot of hats like that. I still don't understand.
Yeah, it's a trend right now. You know, they spell it. It's in that rainbow. And
yeah,
it's
why? Do you know
upside
the
down.
reason? Do you know the reason for that?
I don't. I think it's just kind of a look at me thing. I don't know.
I'm
Whatever
glad,
the kids like.
I'm glad you're telling me you don't know, because if you don't know, then I don't feel quite as bad.
I've crossed over the bridge. You know, I'm not young enough for that anymore.
You're getting close, man. You're getting really close. Anyway, I ask people this all the time. Define it. Okay. It's a toughness. It's how you play. It's God. I hate this cliche. I don't believe in this. I hate when people say they're imposing their will. Bull crap. There's no I'm imposing my will on you. Okay. Some teams are just better. They're more talented. Okay. They're schematically better, and so on and so forth. But how do you just define grit? Well, the Lions have always been a team that is defined in the trenches. That's basically what it is, you guys. When you say you play with grit, it's the guys up front who are strong, tough, moving the pile the way you expect it to. Are the Lions that team still? Let me tell you the reason I asked this question. Because over the weekend, there were people openly questioning whether or not the Lions are that, including Julian Edelman on Fox. Listen to this.
The Detroit Lions may have lost their toughness. How are you a tough football team?
Dang.
You can run the football, you can stop the run, you can protect the quarterback. 7 quarterback hits, 3 sacks on Jared Goff, 7 hurries. I mean, they couldn't protect him, and that's Jared Goff needs to have that middle of the pocket. And then on the other side, defensive line, 0 sacks, 3 hurries. They just couldn't get anything on Jordan Love, and Jordan Love made them pay.
Mm-hmm. So true.
It's a pretty good way to strip it down and explain how that game went.
Tell
Because
me
sometimes
where-
in the
tell me
moment
where
you
he's
don't realize.
wrong. Tell me
Yeah,
where
no,
he's
he's
wrong.
not wrong at all. I think sometimes in the flow of the game, you forget how lopsided it can be. And I think Julian Edelman just laid out how the Lions basically got bullied in the trenches, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, absolutely. I am one of those guys who is constantly referring to points per game for defense. Okay. Oftentimes, grit is associated with defense too. That's why he brought defense up first. So I'm a big believer in, hey, listen, it's got to be points per game. How much you move the ball between the 20s, I don't care. I want to know about points. But rushing defense, I think, is pretty important. And sometimes these numbers can be very misleading because a lot of it is what have you allowed lately? You know, how are you trending? We think teams like New England and Denver, who won their 9th game last night, beating Washington in Washington. If we think a team like Chicago is playing as well as they are and trending in the right direction because of the winning streak, you know, then there's you look at that sample size. It's great to go back and see, wow, Detroit scored 52 points against Chicago or held the Buccaneers to 9 points, but what have they done as of late? And the numbers would tell you they haven't been very good at all in the grit department. What numbers do you want to associate with grit? Run defense? Do you think that's a fair one? I do. Okay. And if you look at it, Detroit is 15th or 11th, I should say, against the run this year. Now, it's not terrible, but it's not what you're used to either. If you just want to look at what I've suggested, and that is you've got to be, hold people off the scoreboard. They are in the middle of the pack. They're 15th in points per game against. They are 14th in total defense. And then if you look at rushing from an offensive standpoint, because that's where you maul people and so on and so forth, they are right now 4th in the league in that regard. The problem is that as of late, and it's really off and on, right? It's high, low. No part of their entire team is coming together as one. One weekend, it might be you're concerned about the offense, like against Green Bay to a certain extent. You're also concerned about your defense against Green Bay, against the Giants. The Eagles, you were concerned about the offense. You thought the defense was decent enough. The Vikings, you were concerned about both the offense and the defense. There has been nothing. There have been very few occasions where you looked at this team and said, that's a complete game win. Answer me that. The last time this team played a complete game win was when? Usually, last year, you started rattling off pretty quick. This year, it's hard. It's hard to figure that one out. And quite honestly, folks, it might be, I don't even know if it's against the Bengals. It's probably the Browns. Because at least with the Bengals, you did surrender 21 fourth quarter points.
Yeah, they coasted a little bit in that one.
Well, is it coasting or is it, I'm not
justifying it. I'm saying, they let the foot off the gas and got a little exposed towards the end. Yeah. Luckily, it didn't matter.
I mean, I don't. Somebody told me that the other day, because I have a lot of these conversations before we bring them up with friends of mine. Somebody said, they use that phrase, let their foot up off the gas. I said, what does that mean? They scored 31 points. Are you saying defensively they said, forget it, we've got this? I don't believe so. This isn't college where you're putting in your third string guys. You can't do that. Their starters were still playing. And if those guys thought they were good enough to just lay off and say, go ahead and complete this pass to T. Higgins, go ahead and run for 8 to 10 yards and give up 21 points in the fourth quarter and make it a little I don't believe that's the case at all.
Well, I'd have to go back and watch it, Shep, but I do think there's something to be said about maybe changing the intent. Like you're playing prevent a little bit more, right? When you have a lead late in a game like that.
Yeah,
I don't know if it should be to the tune of giving up 21 points in the final frame. I'm just saying I think that had something to do with it.
Yes, I understand where you're coming from. I don't think you're playing prevent. I don't. In the NFL until the very last couple of plays.
2 series.
Okay. Because prevent is rushing 3, and that's not the case. In the fourth quarter of that game against Cincinnati, it was 28-3, man. And then it was 28-10. And then Detroit goes 3 and out. And then it's 28-17. They gave up 70 yards in 4 plays. That's not I'm sorry, that's just not a prevent defense. Okay?
Yeah, so I guess to answer your original question, it was not the Bengals game, was not the last complete win, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's why I say
for all these reasons you're laying out. Yeah.
I think it's Cleveland.
And before that, it might have been Chicago.
Right. Right.
So the point is, there's not many of them you can point to this year.
That should scare the hell out of us. This team really has not come together. And look, I'm as guilty as anybody else. I hope you know that by now, listening to the show. I'll call myself out. You don't always have to do it. Feel free. But I'll call myself out because I said they're the best team in the National Football League. I expect them to go to the Super Bowl. If you watch the games before you spoke about them, if you were mute the entire time until right now, you would say you have not seen this team. You would ask people aloud, what makes you think they're so good? Give me the examples in which they've played this year. This is not, stockpiling negativity on the Lions. Give me the games that make you made you feel real comfortable, where they played a complete game. And I know that's really hard to do. It's hard to have a complete game. Offense, defense, special teams, and so on. So
but you've seen it. Like, to your point, Shep, last year you had a handful. At least you had 5, 6, 7 games that you could look at and say the defense played well, the offense played well, the special teams played well. The coaching was on point.
Even the Baltimore game, when people talk about Baltimore, well, don't forget about that one, Shep. Remember this: they were tied at 21 after 3 quarters in that game. They exploded in the fourth. Give them credit. If you're willing to give them credit for scoring 17 points in the fourth quarter, then you've got to be willing to criticize them for allowing as many points as they did in the fourth quarter against Cincinnati. So I think you've really found 2 games. You found the game against Cleveland, and you found the game against Chicago, where it was more complete. You don't have to play complete games to get wins in the National Football League. Carolina did not play a complete game yesterday, but they upset the Rams, and everybody's gaga over it. Whereas my guess is that Carolina and the coaching staff is going, holy crap, we got to be better defensively at times. Okay? So the point is that this is a team, as Julian Edelman said, have they lost their grit? And that's what I would ask Lions fans right now. Do you feel like this team is tough enough? Are they going to be physical and mentally tough enough? Aiden Hutchinson said it. You know, this is we've proven ourselves before in adversity. Not sure that's necessarily the case. They did a year ago, but there was plenty of adversity. This team has faced plenty of adversity over the last month and a half. And how have they responded? Please stop with the back-to-back losses, okay? Because since the winning streak that lasted 4 games and got them to 4-1, they have alternated loss and win every single week. A loss to the Vikings, or a loss to the Chiefs, I should say. A win against the Bucs. Loss to the Vikings. Win against the Commanders. Loss to the Eagles. Win against the Giants. Loss to the Packers. If you are going to criticize certain college football teams, and you have every right, and we were talking about Michigan earlier, I said, look at the 3 teams that were best on their schedule. And I said, look at Bryce Underwood's numbers. Oklahoma, he was 9 for 24 for 142 yards. Is that great? No. Against USC, threw for 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, and one pick. Okay. Just okay. Sorry. 200 yards throwing the bar, that's a really low bar. Against Ohio State, 8 for 18, 63 yards. Hey, what about the rival, Michigan State? They didn't win it because of Bryce Underwood. He was 8 for 17 for 86 yards. So if we're going to do that and ask, where's their marquee win? It's fair to ask the same thing of this Lions team that has been very, very inconsistent. Not taking away the 4-game win streak, but I think it's okay to say, okay, do they really handle adversity well? Because it seems like once they've handled the adversity for 1 week, the adversity rears its ugly head again the next. And if you're going to look at this team's schedule and you're going to look for certain wins, which wins validate my belief? You're going to look long and hard and not be able to find one. Sorry. Baltimore's 6-6. Chicago's really good, but they really, look at the role that they're on right now. You got them at the right time. Let's see what happens at the end of the year. Your wins are against the Giants, who have 2 wins, against the Commanders, who have lost a ton of talent because of injury, and you did what you were supposed to do, but they're not a threat at all. Tampa, who's got 6 wins, right, and is tied atop their division. The Bengals were in the dungeon. The Browns were in that same dungeon, and the Bears. You get the Bears the second week of the season. I'm not trying to take anything away from the Lions here. I'm just saying you got them at the very right time. This is a team that is the number 1 seed right now in the NFC. You beat them. One of their handful of losses, only got 3 losses, was to you. They started 0-2, if you recall. They've won 5 in a row. Outside of Denver and New England, they're playing the best football in the National Football League right now, or most consistent in the National Football League right now. We can hang our hat on that if you'd like. It was week 2, but it's still a win. You're going to need more than that if you expect to make the postseason. They are not playing to the standard that they set for themselves from a year ago, or even 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago. This is something we haven't seen in the last two and a half plus years from this team.
Yeah, they don't even look like the team from the latter half of the 2022 season.
Right.
When they finished 9-8 that year.
They don't. And they supposedly have better talent. And when you lose a starting center and a right guard, and you have to put together, it's unfair to call it a makeshift offensive line, but an unproven offensive line. That's why some people may be questioning the loss of your grit. On top of that, when you are allowing, maybe not allowed, what's the word I'm looking for? When you don't have the ability to get after the quarterback on a regular basis, and they don't. Sorry. I mean, as much as I would like to argue with myself in that regard, they don't have the ability.
There's no consistent pass rush whatsoever.
Absolutely.
It's one of the worst in the league, really, if you look at it.
Yeah, it's a serious problem. It's a serious problem. I can talk all I want, Trent, about how impressed I am with Jack Campbell and the tackles, and I think he's 3rd in the league in tackles.
Yeah, sounds right.
I need people to put pressure on the likes of Jordan Love and company, because until it's Aaron Rodgers just standing as a statue back there for Pittsburgh in a couple of weeks, it's not going to matter. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. You can text us, Sports Radio 21,000. When we come back, we will dive into the college football aspect of things, the discussion that we've had a lot of this morning. And we will do that with college football writer Matt Burchell of the Orlando Sentinel. He joins us on X's and Bros right after this on a Monday morning, brought to you by Meyer.
Huge here with a message to all of you Lions fans. My good friend Josh Garvey, who runs Doran Mayhew's Grand Rapids office, will join me every Thursday with former Lion Lomas Brown, and we'll go inside the Lions each and every week all the way through the Super Bowl. Doran Mayhew is proud to partner with the Huge Show, and we're proud to have a guy like Josh Garvey join us in studio every week. If you have a Lions question or comment, you can drop them at Huge Show on Twitter, The Huge Show on Facebook. Doran Mayhew, proud to be a part of the West Michigan community and across the entire state with their corporate worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan. So make plans every Thursday, 5 p.m. It's Josh Garvey, who is the managing shareholder at Doran Mayhew's GR office, with Lomas Brown on The Huge Show, going inside the Lions every Thursday at 5 p.m.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. We'll be right back after this break, but while you're waiting, be sure to vote on our daily poll question presented by MitchLionsWealth.com at XB Mornings on X.
Pro football can be a tough road as a player, full of highs and lows, injuries, roster decisions, and someone always gunning to take your job. Bottom line, there's a lot of uncertainty, and you need to know how to navigate it. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, former Steeler and Falcon tight end, and founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Back in my NFL days, protection was important, protecting the quarterback, the ball, and your body. Retirement is no different. When you're in the retirement red zone, you need a retirement of steel. A retirement protected from a tumultuous stock market with an income that never stops and can only increase. You can get growth tied to the stock market without putting your nest egg in jeopardy. That's right. If the market goes up, you can lock in gains, but if it goes down, you don't lose a dime. Contact us today to schedule a 10-minute intro call to see if we can help you retire comfortably without worry. Call today and we'll send you my book, Retirement of Steel. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Call 866-85-STEEL. That's 866-857-8335. Again, 866-857-8335. MitchLionsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Save a good deal more this holiday season with Meyer brand hot deals on all your baking needs. Like Meyer brand all-purpose flour for only $2.19 and pure granulated sugar for $2.89. Save on Meyer brand light brown sugar, confectioner's powdered sugar, heavy whipping cream, and whipped topping, all just $1.99 each. And 12 packs of Meyer brand candy canes are $1.79. Shopping for holiday baking essentials is a good deal better at Meyer. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meyer app.
Soar to new heights of winning with Eagle Casino and Sports. Enjoy your favorite games wherever you are, whether at home or on the go. Dive into exciting slots, spin the roulette wheel, or challenge yourself with virtual table games, all at your fingertips. Sign up now and opt in to receive a deposit match up to $1,500 for the casino, plus up to 100 free spins. Download the Eagle Casino and Sports app today and experience winning with just a tap. Go you! Must be located in Michigan and 21 years or older. Other conditions apply. Visit playeagle.com to join the action. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The Michigan Sports Network is your exclusive home for X's and Bros with Matt Shepard and The Huge Show later today at 3 p.m.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
Okay, back with you on X's and Bros. Looking forward to the college football discussion with Matt Mershon. He's a college football writer for Orlando Sentinel. You can follow him on Twitter at OS Matt Murschel, Murschel. Good guy who covers college football. We'll get his thoughts on Pat Fitzgerald, Lane Kiffin, and a whole lot more. Just a reminder that this Thursday, the Lions play the Cowboys. Our friends at Ferris Coffee want to send you to the game. We've got 2 tickets for you to go to the Lions and Cowboys at Ford Field. We'll make the announcement live at the Meyer location in downtown Detroit Thursday morning when we broadcast live there. If you want to get a chance to go, an opportunity to dive into 2 tickets, courtesy of Ferris Coffee, then we ask you to text Ferris, Ferris, to 21,000. Text Ferris to 21,000 today, and you'll be eligible to get those 2 tickets to watch the Lions and the Cowboys. All right, Matt Murschel watches a lot of college football, covers a lot of college football for the Orlando Sentinel. He joins us here on X's and Bros. Matt, appreciate the time very much. Hope you and your family had a good Thanksgiving. Before we get to Lane Kiffin, I want to ask you about Pat Fitzgerald, the possibility of him being the next head coach at Michigan State University. What's your overall thought on that and how he might fit, and why you think Michigan State needed to make the change from Jonathan Smith as their head coach over the last 2 years?
Yeah, well, I think when you look at what Pat's done during his time at Northwestern, I mean, aside from, the fact that he was dismissed there, with the off the field stuff, I mean, he's had a pretty incredible winning record, you know what I mean? And he built an outstanding program at Northwestern. I think if you're, Michigan State and you decided, okay, we need to make a move now, there hasn't been success over the last couple of years. You're looking around the league and you're seeing a lot of schools making moves, and you're seeing, schools like Indiana now who are at the top of the heap. You're looking at Ohio State and Michigan, which have been at the top of the heap. Penn State's about ready to make a move. It looks like, you start to think, okay, if we want to be relevant, we got to make a change possibly. And, it looks like they're going to look at a guy like Pat who has experience in the Big 12, has won and has won, a championship and think maybe, let's listen, maybe we can bring him in. Maybe he's going to bring in some of the things that we're looking for. You're going to get Pat probably a lot cheaper than maybe some of the other names that are out there. It's going to be as we've already seen, it's been a very chaotic coaching carousel so far this offseason. So I think if you're Michigan State, a lot of these moves are made because, you want to stay relevant. You want to make sure you can't fall farther behind, let's put it that way. And I think so. You look around and you think maybe Pat's the guy that's going to do that. Like I said, there's a lot of names out there, but there are also a lot of schools, a lot of ADs going after some of these guys and throwing a lot of money at some of these coaches. So, Michigan State looking around thinking maybe this is the best way to kind of move forward.
What do you think he brings besides, having won at a really difficult place to win at Northwestern? What are some of the other values, the other characteristics that you think will be welcomed by MSU's football fan base?
Well, he's a guy that he brings a lot of toughness. His teams have always been really tough, physically on the field. He's a guy that definitely they like to run the football. So he's going to probably go back to some basics there. To me, he's very old school Big Ten. If you're talking about coaches that come in and who are going to go back to, some of the basics of running the football, play action, some things like that, kind of, go back to the day. I think that's what a Pat Fitzgerald brings to. And you're right. He's won at a place, Northwestern, where, you have high academic standards. So in the Michigan State's got high academic standards. So, you bring in a guy who understands that. He understands the fact that, that can't be tossed to the side. You can't get so caught up in the transfer portal and NIL world that you got to forget about that stuff. So he understands that as well. The guy who's been out of coaching for about a year now, and, has probably been energized by that, probably wants to get back into it, has a lot of, probably a lot of excitement, understands exactly what needs to be done. Has watched the game maybe, sometimes when you're a coach in the game itself and you go from job to job to job, you don't have a moment maybe to look at what's going on around in the business and the sport itself. And so I think he brings a lot of that kind of thing. And I think that could be a huge help for Michigan State. It's difficult when you were once at the top of the Big Ten to all of a sudden look around and see, like I mentioned, all those schools that are starting to find, investing a lot of resources, investing a lot of money, trying to find ways to be relevant and get to the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Indiana having a good couple seasons has kind of maybe made a lot of schools in the Big Ten look around and think, okay, we got to find a way to make sure that we can continue to be relevant, because we can't fall farther and farther behind, or else, you're going to be at the bottom, and it's not going to be a good feeling.
So true. Matt Murschel covers college football for Orlando Sentinel. You can follow him on Twitter at OS Matt Murschel. He's joining us here on X's and Bros. When you see what LSU has done in hitting a home run higher with Lane Kiffin's a brilliant offensive mind. There's no doubt about it. You can't deny that. On the other hand, he's high maintenance, man. I mean, there's a lot to like, but there's a lot to understand, some trepidation too. I blame the NCAA for this whole thing more than anything else because of the timing. I don't like it. I don't think it's fair to the kids. What's your overall take on him going to LSU and the various ways you could take that conversation?
Yeah, it's many ways you can go with this. Listen, I think, again, a lot of people are going to say this is a home run hire for LSU, but I'm going to point out the fact that they thought Brian Kelly was a home run hire when they brought him in, a couple of years ago. You remember there was a lot of buzz because they scooped him away from Notre Dame and spent a lot of money to bring him in, and it didn't work out for them. It didn't what they wanted to. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Lane Kiffin, but I think you're going after a guy who has a lot of baggage. He's had a lot of baggage everywhere he's gone. I mean, Ole Miss is probably the only stop really where, he was pretty set in his ways there, and it felt like he had a really good thing going there. But the way he left Ole Miss is probably going to fall onto, his legacy of where he's been as a coach.
Yep.
A lot of people didn't like the way that ended, and I don't blame them. And again, yeah, I think you could blame the NCAA. You can look at the timing of all this. Is it fair for coaches to be making these decisions, when you still have games to be played, and I don't know if there could have been any decision Lane Kiffin could have made outside of staying at Ole Miss that would have made everyone happy. I mean, you have to decide when you have to decide, and for Ole Miss's situation, listen, they had to decide what's going to happen in the future of their program just going into the college football playoff. Do we want to have a guy who's coaching our team who we know is already committed to another school, is already bringing half our coaching staff with him, is probably more than likely going to be poaching a lot of our players? Do we want to bring that guy and let him go through the college football playoff and lead us to a possible national championship? Ole Miss didn't want to make that move. They'd rather have an interim coach do that and let Lane do his thing. And again, Lane's a talent, understands exactly what it takes to win in the SEC. He did a really good job at Ole Miss. He's done that for a lot of years. But this is going to be one of those hires that I think this is a make or break hire for LSU. I mean, if he gets to LSU and he doesn't do the things that he did at Ole Miss, and they continue to struggle, or something happens with them and they aren't as successful as they would have liked to have been, then you're going to look at the fact that you've botched two major coaching hires over a last 10-year period. And I think that's something that, that could hang on you for a long time. So I got to admit, there are probably a lot of us in the business and reporters and things that are happy that this is all over with now, because you get tired of talking about Lane Kiffin over and over and over again. What's he going to do? Where's he going to go? But again, I think for LSU, this is showing that they're committed to finding a top-notch coach, and they felt like he's the guy to help lead this program to the future.
All right, just real quick, because I got 1 minute left. How much does this affect Ole Miss's college football playoff rankings, do you think? And for good reason, if at all?
Well, I think it'll affect it a little bit. Now, it's not like losing, like a quarterback. I think the example that's been used is, think about Florida State several years ago when they lost Jordan Travis, their quarterback, for injury. The selection committee kind of took that into consideration a little bit, when it came to Florida State and their rankings. Not enough to actually put them in the playoff, but again, that was considered. I think it'll definitely affect a little bit. Maybe they're not going to be as highly ranked as they would have been because of it. Because again, you're talking about a coaching staff that's going to be missing not only its head coach, but most of its offensive staff, and now has an interim coach, and Pete Golding is going to try to find a way to get things going. So it's going to be a challenge. But sometimes in these kind of situations, you can get players to rally around that, and you can kind of use that as a driving force. So it'll be interesting to see if that's what's going to happen and where the committee actually puts them when the rankings are finally said and done.
Interesting stuff. Great insight. Always appreciated, Matt. Keep up the great work there with the Orlando Sentinel. All the best to you and your family. Thanks for taking some time on a Monday morning.
All right. Thanks a lot. Take care.
All right. Matt Michelle from the Orlando Sentinel joining us a little bit later on. Jesse Simonton of On3 Sports. He will join us at 8:35 with a similar discussion when we come back. Hero and Heel, your best and worst of the weekend, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort on X's and BrO's on a Monday morning.
Save a good deal more this holiday season with Meyer brand hot deals on all your baking needs. Like Meyer brand all-purpose flour for only $2.19 and pure granulated sugar for $2.89. Save on Meyer brand light brown sugar, confectioner's powdered sugar, heavy whipping cream, and whipped topping. All just $1.99 each. And 12 packs of Meyer brand candy canes are $1.79. Shopping for holiday baking essentials is a good deal better at Meyer. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meyer app.
Make every second count inside the $3,360,000 Mega Cash Cube at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Every Friday and Saturday in December from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. 2 lucky winners will be drawn every hour to step into the Cash Cube. Once the bills start flying, it's game on. Grab as much cash as you can before the clock hits zero. $30,000 in cash is swirling around, and whatever you can grab is yours. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Your getaway reimagined. Visit SoaringEagleCasino.com for complete rules and details.
Shop Meyer's Cyber Deals November 30th through December 2nd and save a good deal more on the hottest gifts of the season, like 50% off JBL Tune Buds and Flex, Beats Solo 4-on-ear wireless headphones for $129.95, and JBL Grip portable speakers for $84.95. Low prices on presents they'll love. That's the gift-giving good life at Meyer. Cyber deals are available in the Meyer app or in store. Exclusions apply.
Hey, 18 after the hour. Welcome back. Every Monday at 8:18, we do Hero and Heel. We want your nominations as well. Best and worst of the weekend. It doesn't have to be an individual. It can be a team. It can be a league. It can be a conference. It can be an owner, a coach, you name it. If it's associated with sports, or hey, listen, maybe it's a personal feeling. Maybe it's somebody within your family who had a really good weekend. Maybe it's a high school athlete that you have. Join us, Hero and Heel. Give us your nominees, and we'll give them the notoriety they deserve. 8:18. So let's get to it. My hero, and I hate to do this. I do. I hate it. It's the Chicago Bears. We criticize the minus point differential and their poor completion percentage, courtesy of Caleb Williams. And nitpick about what we don't like about Ben Johnson. Been there, done that. Hate the post-game locker room screaming and celebration. but it's working right now. Damn it, it's working. We can highlight the toughness. We can also look at the tough remaining schedule. But remember this. When we said the remaining schedule includes Philadelphia, they went into Philly and they beat the hell out of the Eagles. That's a really impressive roadkill, man. It's something that our team could not do. They rushed for 281 yards against the Eagles. Third time this year they've rushed for 200 yards or more in a game. They average 154 yards per game on the ground and lead the league in 26 takeaways. If you and I think, and we say this all the time, that's why I brought up this word, grit, earlier. Do you remember? I said grit. Define it. One of the many ways is what? Running it down people's throat. Trent, who leads the National Football League in rushing yards per game?
Indianapolis? I don't know. Who is it?
The Buffalo Bills and the Chicago Bears are second. Okay? Indianapolis is sixth. Chicago averaging 154 yards per game on the ground. That's impressive, man. I'm sorry. They've won 9 of 10. They appear to be the team to beat in the NFC North, if not the entire National Football Conference. So my hero, reluctantly, is the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, good foreshadowing there, because my hero is the Buffalo Bills, staying in the National Football League. They snag a 26-7 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road yesterday. But I want to focus on one particular facet of that win. Shep, if I asked you what immediately comes to mind when I say Pittsburgh Steelers as a franchise, their history, what would you say?
Tough defense.
Tough defense. And guess what? The Bills bullied them and ran all over them. Their 249 rushing yards yesterday is the most rushing yards Pittsburgh has allowed at home in 50 years. And in a year where the AFC Big Three of the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Bills are kind of being written off for a bit of the younger and upcoming Patriots, Broncos, Colts, and others. I just think Buffalo reminded us yesterday a little bit that they're still right there. You do something that hasn't been done in 50 years, Shep. I have to give the Buffalo Bills some love. That's a hell of a win. They're still in this division race. They're still in the AFC race. The Bills are my hero from the weekend.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Think about this for a minute in the AFC. I don't know who's going to make it right now or not. New England's going to make it. Denver's going to make it. But you could envision a scenario in the AFC where Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson, as well as C.J. Stroud, maybe even Justin Herbert, are not playing postseason football.
Isn't that something? And instead, you're watching Trevor Lawrence, Drake May, Bo Nix. Who saw that coming?
Nobody. Daniel Jones.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
So take those four, the four I mentioned, Mahomes, Jackson, Burrow, and Stroud, and replace them with the four you just mentioned. Lawrence, Nix, May, and Jones.
Wow.
That puts it in perspective, don't you?
Bananas, man.
Yeah. All right, here's time for the heel. My heel on this Monday is Bryce Underwood in Michigan football. I know it's not all on one kid, but his offense was limited to 100 yards rushing. Folks, they had 108 yards rushing against Ohio State in the first half, and they finished with 100 yards rushing. He threw for just 63 yards, lowest of the season. He needed to outplay Ohio State redshirt freshman, or is he a sophomore, Julian Sayin, and he didn't even come close. The Wolverines were 1 for 9 on third downs, had just 9 first downs overall, and possessed the ball just 20 minutes. Underwood was screaming for fans before the game as they're warming up. He took his helmet off, went over toward an end zone, started screaming for fans to make some noise. He gave them nothing to cheer about. He looked cold. He looked out of sorts during the entire game. Michigan's going to go bowling, okay? Might even get a New Year's Day bowl game. This is just an average football team, man. There's a lot of holes to compete with. If you want to battle the big boys in the Big Ten and you think you're close, you better either unleash your quarterback or your quarterback's got to be a lot better than he was against Ohio State. I'm not going to blame it all on him because the defense didn't add any pressure, and they offered very little resistance to the Buckeyes offense. But Bryce Underwood's got to shoulder a lot of the blame too. This is what happens when you make all the money and you have all those quotes about you ain't seen a freshman like me before. Start living up to it. That's my heel for the week.
I like that, Shep. Accountability. My heel for the week, back to the NFL. The Atlanta Falcons. They lose to the Jets on a walk-off field goal. I know it happens in the NFL, close games. I get it. But the Falcons had 9 more first downs than the Jets. They averaged 1.5 more yards per play on offense than the Jets. They outgained the Jets by 120 yards on offense. They won time of possession. Shep, I could go on and on. The most shocking one to me, the Falcons had just 1 penalty in the game to the Jets 9. Wow. And the Falcons lost this game.
Wow.
They're now 4-8 on the season. It would appear Raheem Morris is a dead man walking. This is one of those games where you look at the box score, you can pick your stat, whatever matters to you. You look at it. The Falcons won in every way except the final tally. And it's baffling to me. I'm happy for Aaron Glenn. I have been rooting from afar for Aaron Glenn. And for a team that was once searching for their first win of the season, they've now got 3. So there's maybe something going on there, but I can't believe the Falcons lost that game yesterday if you just look at the numbers.
Plus, Bijan Robinson had a huge day.
Yeah, he played great. Fantasy owners are happy.
Yeah, I was. Big reason why I'm leading. I can't have the Patriots defense go off tonight. Who's the worst team in football?
I think it's Tennessee still.
Okay, they've lost 7 in a row. I would remind you the Las Vegas Raiders have lost 6 in a row.
Is that surprising to you, by the way, how bad Vegas has been?
Yeah, they're really bad. I mean, they've already made a change at offensive coordinator. Chip Kelly was fired by Pete Carroll, but still, I don't know who the worst team is. It's not the Jets and it's not the Browns. I don't know if you saw Aaron Glenn's press conference afterwards. He mentioned grit. Okay.
Oh, of course he did.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff, man. Really appreciate it. Really good hero and heel. Well, when we come back, Jesse Simonton is going to join us. He writes for On3 Sports. We can dive deeper into the college football landscape. Pat Fitzgerald to Michigan State, Lane Kiffin to LSU, and more. He's coming up next right here on X's and Bros, brought to you this hour by our friends at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Make every second count inside the $3,360,000 mega cash cube at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Every Friday and Saturday in December from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. 2 lucky winners will be drawn every hour to step into the cash cube. Once the bills start flying, it's game on. Grab as much cash as you can before the clock hits 0. $30,000 in cash is swirling around, and whatever you can grab is yours. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Your getaway reimagined. Visit SoaringEagleCasino.com for complete rules and details.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community. just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. And if you missed any of today's show, be sure to check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your podcasts to find the greatest hits from every day's show.
Save a good deal more this holiday season with Meyer brand hot deals on all your baking needs. Like Meyer brand all-purpose flour for only $2.19 and pure granulated sugar for $2.89. Save on Meyer brand light brown sugar, confectioner's powdered sugar, heavy whipping cream, and whipped topping, all just $1.99 each. And 12 packs of Meyer brand candy canes are $1.79. Shopping for holiday baking essentials is a good deal better at Meyer. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meyer app.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
The college football landscape is kind of crazy right now. I guess it's been this way for a while, but I suppose it's a little bit more highlighted because of circumstances surrounding college athletics these days. Nobody knows it better than Jesse Simonton, who writes for On3 Sports. You can follow him on Twitter at Jesse R. Simonton. Joins us here on X's and BrO's on this Monday morning. Jesse, I appreciate it very much. First things first, Lane Kiffin gets all the headlines for good reason. Is there anyone, and if so, who to blame for this whole fiasco of the timing of him leaving one team and going to another in the SEC?
Well, I mean, a lot of folks have circled the calendar as being a problem, and there's no doubt about that. I mean, this is the only sport where when the postseason's happening, you're also juggling, coaching changes, the transfer portal, basically, free agency, and then signing day happening at the same time. I mean, it's insane. But college football is also kind of, blocked by the fact that it's stuck around an academic calendar that's not going to change. And so the sport itself is going to need to make major and drastic changes if it wants to avoid these sorts of pitfalls in the future. I do also think that while Lane is free to make this decision and he has every right to do so, the way he handled it, basically sticking his thumb, at Ole Miss for more than a month, hemming and hawing and saying he needed this much time to pray, and then kind of throwing a fit on, out the door last night, blaming athletics director Keith Carter for not letting him continue to coach the team. And I think that's all on Lane. I mean, the whole point of this is to have a team that's capable of winning a national championship. Ole Miss is 11-1. It's their greatest season in school history. They're going to host what will arguably be the biggest football game in the state of Mississippi ever in 3 weeks, a month. And now Lane is giving all that up for the possibility of winning a national championship elsewhere. Again, he has every right to do so. They're giving him $100 million and just kind of carte blanche. But he is certainly not some victim in all this because he does not get to lead Ole Miss in a college football playoff in a couple weeks.
How did it get to be this bad there?
Meaning what? I mean, I think he and Keith Carter for a while, frankly, had a great relationship. I think there's been a lot of myth making about the maturation and growth of Lane Kiffin over the last 12 months. I'm not saying that ESPN documentary that Ryan McGee, who's really good, put together that came out. I mean, Lane was very, I think, forthright and transparent in that he has made drastic changes in his life and he has improved, I think, various aspects. But this is still Lane Kiffin. I mean, he's been, college football's ultimate kind of enigma and troll, or not even college football. I mean, you think about this, he's about to become the head coach at LSU, and that's arguably the third best job he's had. I think LSU is probably a top 5 job in the sport now, but where Tennessee, was where they thought they were when he was, coming off of that. You have USC, you have the Oakland Raiders. I mean, it's kind of wild when you just think of all the twists and turns of Lane Kiffin's career. He clearly was more restless than he ever let on at Ole Miss, or else I don't think it would have gotten to this. Again, leaving a college football playoff team with a chance to, win a game that I think, if Lane Kiffin won if he got Ole Miss to the national championship or the semifinals, I think you're talking about the Rebels fans building that man a statue. But it had gotten to such a point, and I wrote this, I'm actually not at On3, you guys did it, but at my Substack, Surrender Cobra now, that I wrote this, that he, had positioned Ole Miss in such a way that I think by the end, even their fans were not going to be happy if he ended up coming back, because there was no signs that this was ever going to end. That even if he did, do the Jordan Belfort, I'm not leaving Wolf of Wall Street gift and kind of said all the trolling was just to stick it to Florida and LSU. There's no indication that a year from now he wouldn't be doing the same song and dance if a Texas or an Alabama or another NFL job that he liked came open. And so I feel for Ole Miss fans because they can't even really enjoy what again is probably the greatest season in their school history.
What makes him so appealing? He's a carpetbagger, man. He's the Larry Brown equivalent to college basketball and the NBA. He seems to be always looking for the next gig for him instead of being happy with where he's at. And I think he's a brilliant offensive mind. But what's the appeal there for schools to create this upheaval just to get him into their program?
Well, I think he is uniquely positioned this time around at the dearth of other kind of marquee candidates. Mm-hmm. And there is this mystique around Lane that I absolutely agree with, has vastly outshined his actual record. I mean, you could argue that in the last 2 years, the best wins of his career were either against Georgia a year ago or against Oklahoma this season. We're talking about regular season wins. This is not a college football playoff win or an SEC championship or a Pac-12 championship. But because of his shine and because of just kind of the aura that is around Lane Kiffin, when you add that coupled with the fact of in today's modern day, where for, I think, bad processing reasons, athletic directors and boosters are very afraid to hand the keys to a first year, a coordinator, a new head coach. Everybody's swimming in the same pool. And so when you look at the best coaches in the sport, Kirby's not ever going to go anywhere. Dan Lanning is entrenched at Oregon. Ryan Day is entrenched at Ohio State. And so suddenly everybody's swimming in the same waters. And that's how, a guy like Eli Drinkowitz, who's a very good, solid SEC coach, is able to leverage these schools for a raise and extension, even though he didn't beat a single team with a winning record this year. That's how a guy like, Josh Heupel at Tennessee has had his name flirted all around the Penn State job because maybe he would like to kind of restart the clock and go, somewhere else. And everybody's kind of, talking to the same guys. John Sumrall was, basically had 3 different SEC schools in Auburn, Florida, and Ole Miss, all, vying for his services. So that's how Lane is able to kind of become, the eye of the bell of the ball, just in this particular moment of college football.
Boy, that is a great, and I mean a great description of what's going on right now. Jesse Simonton joining us. He writes for On3 Sports. You can follow him on Twitter at Jesse R.E. Simonton here on X's and Bros. Pat Fitzgerald is believed to be the next head coach at Michigan State University. When it's announced, why will it work?
I'm skeptical that it will, and this is not a demerit against Pat's past. He's been cleared of what happened at Northwestern. I think it's more to the point of, those last couple seasons at Northwestern, scandal notwithstanding, were not particularly good. I know that that is a very difficult place to win. Obviously, Braun has done a nice job there in his replacement. But I think Pat is really going to have to you talk about a guy needing to show growth. For Michigan State to not continue to kind of sink into the bowels of the basement of the Big Ten, he's going to have to show that he is of the modern era, that he embraces NIL, that he embraces the transfer portal, that he, is going to come equipped, and I think this is vastly important, with an offensive staff that has, modern ingenuity and isn't just, 3 yards in a cloud of dust and we're banging our heads against the wall. I know Michigan State wants to be tough. I know they want to be physical. This is the Big Ten and get all that. But Jonathan Smith, a couple of years ago, I think he's a case in point of when a hire looks really good, there's no guarantee that's going to work out. Jonathan Smith was fantastic at what he did at Oregon State. I thought he was going to be a phenomenal hire for Michigan State, especially because it was going to be a long, slow burn coming off, running hot for that one season, essentially, with Mel Tucker. The sanctions, I think, we'll see what kind of happens there with that. But Pat's swimming upstream, with where the rest of the Big Ten is, where that Michigan State job is compared to where it was even 5-10 years ago. The Spartans need to hope, obviously, that he's the right guy, and that they're certainly banking on that. I see.
who are some of the up-and-coming coordinators or mid-major coaches you expect to see, at least in conversations for some bigger jobs, do you think?
Well, a lot of these jobs are filled, but I do think Kentucky is one now that, because they have missed the merry-go-round with a John Sumrall, who's kind of their prodigal son, played at Kentucky, was a former linebacker there, coached there. You know, I think if they had fired Mark Stoops 6 weeks ago, which they should, again, it was the way that the whole deal has been handled was completely bad processing. They were going to owe him $38 million 6 weeks ago, 6 weeks from now, or today. And so the fact that they decided the inner Black Sunday at the 11th hour is just kind of wild. So I do think that they, because of that decision, it would behoove them because they could save some money. And perhaps, again, who knows how these coaching searches work out. So many of these are going to go bust. So I think it would behoove the Cats to gamble on a coordinator, to go and call Oregon's Will Stein, the offensive coordinator, to kick the tires on a Brian Hartline, who's obviously familiar with recruiting in that footprint in Ohio, in Kentucky, up there. You know, Ohio State's offensive coordinator, wide receivers coach, just Glenn Schumann, the Georgia defensive coordinator. I think those are probably three of the upcoming names that you're going to start seeing being bandied about for coordinator jobs. There are others out there. Dawson at Miami is someone that's going to generate some interest. I'm not sure how many, you mentioned G5 or mid-major, quote unquote, mid-major coaches. I'm not sure how many of those guys are ever really going to get a look anymore in terms from P5 jobs, until they have a lengthy track record, i.e., Sumrall has been at multiple jobs. Did it at Troy, did it at Tulane. Silverfield was at, Memphis forever, and there was a tie there at Arkansas. I think, Jason Eck is one to maybe circle for next year. He's at New Mexico. What he's done at New Mexico, just a woebegone program this season to get them to 9 wins. He's a former Wisconsin offensive lineman. It would not surprise me at all if a year from now, we're having a conversation where Wisconsin has officially moved on from Luke Fickell. And Eck is a guy who they've kind of circled that, hey, he can be the guy that kind of takes us into the future.
By the way, I'm with you. I thought Jonathan Smith was a home run hire. I thought Luke Fickell was at Wisconsin too, and neither one has turned out. If I made Jesse Simonton commissioner, a new commissioner for the NCAA football side of things, what are the biggest changes you would make? Because you and I would both know it's broken right now. I mean, it is constant chaos in college football, and I think it's turned a lot of people off, even though attendance wouldn't tell you that. But if you talk to people like you and I do, as often as we do, there's a lot of people don't like the way college football looks right now. What would you do to fix it if you think it needs fixing?
Well, this would be a conversation that we would need a lot more than a 15-minute interview to actually, get down to brass tacks, because so much, you're right, does need to be tweaked and changed. The calendar is at the forefront, and I think figuring out a way to work it around the academic calendar is absolutely paramount. I think that would stymie some of the problems that you have with some of these, players that, and it's just going to be the beginning now. You're going to start seeing players opt out. I think that's going to become a new trend. So fixing the calendar, that is again a longer, deeper conversation of how to make those machinations work. But that should be, I think, number one priority. It's to, expand. It doesn't need to be all these committees and councils that are happening. Congress, those are tweaks that can be made, later and addressed later. I think the number one priority is the calendar.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Final thought from you. Who do you think in the end is the best college football team in America right now?
Well, right now, I until proven otherwise, I'm leaning with Ohio State. I mean, this is I think, the advanced analytics have shown that 5 years ago, the number one team, the Georgias, that was just kind of curve stomping everybody. The season before that 20 team LSU, those number one teams were super dominant. I think be wrong that Ohio State is not the one left holding the trophy this season because the margins have been there compared to number one teams in the past. Having said that, they clearly have demonstrated that they are the best team thus far. That doesn't mean they're going to win it, when you have to go through the gauntlet of a 12-team playoff. But, they have just handled their business every week, and it's just that they just kind of the second half of their games are just kind of you're just kind of sitting in the rocking chair, just rocking back and forth, waiting for it to be over because it's just not non-competitive. So it will be a very interesting test this weekend against Indiana because this is not some Hoosier Daddy Hoosier team. This is a real outfit. Kurt Signetti has a really, really quality football team. And so I'm interested to see the Big Ten championship. It doesn't mean a lot in terms of stakes because both of those teams are obviously going to be top four likely seeds. But I think it will be a huge barometer for both of them. All right, where do we stand against the best when we sign up for this gauntlet, later in December?
It'll be entertaining. We expect it to be anyway. Always entertaining talking to you and reading your stuff. Great stuff as always, Jesse. We appreciate the time today. All the best to you and your family. Enjoy the rest of the college football season.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, you bet. That's Jesse Simonton. Let's get to the final results of our poll question from Monday and the daily wager. Let's do that. The poll question on Monday: who wins the game? Michigan, Ohio State, or I don't care. What was it, Trent?
Ohio State. 49% of the voters said Ohio State. 38% said Michigan, and 13%, probably Michigan State fans, said I don't care.
Okay, and how'd your daily wager do?
It went well. I forget what the spread even was that I took, but I took the Seattle Seahawks to cover. They won 26-0. I think I got it at like 12.5. Does that sound right?
It sounds right.
You could have got it at any spread on the market, and Seattle would have covered because they won 26-0 over Minnesota.
Yeah, we both kind of were on that. What do you got for us today?
Tonight, I will take Asar Thompson playing the Atlanta Hawks. 20-plus points, rebounds, assists. You add them all up, he's got to get to 20-plus. I just think that's a low number for him. He's been playing well lately.
Okay.
This is a game, by the way, Shep, a 13-win Hawks team. This will be a fun game to watch tonight.
It should be good. Yeah, the Pistons have been entertaining all season long. Just a reminder that our friends at Ferris Coffee are giving you a chance to attend the Lions and Cowboys game Thursday night. Text the word Ferris, Ferris. Ferris to 21,000. Earn a chance to win 2 tickets. I'm going to announce the winner Thursday morning, 8:35. I broadcast live from my location in Rivertown Market in Detroit. Text Ferris to 21,000 today. Give yourself a chance at winning Lions and Cowboys tickets. Our thanks to you for giving us a chance to visit with you a little bit on a Monday morning. We're back with you tomorrow morning.